In the shadows, your enemies thought they could hide forever. But the truth has a way of breaking through, and now a whistleblower is exposing the lies, the theft, and the sickness they've tried to keep buried. Chosen one. This is the storm they never saw coming. The air has been thick with tension for a long time now, even if you didn't always have the words to explain it. You've been feeling the strange shifts, the silent pressure, the quiet scrambling happening behind closed doors. What you may not have realized is that there's a reason your spirit has been on high alert. It's because something that belongs to you has been in the wrong hands for far too long. We're talking about more than just material wealth. This is about an inheritance that carries both spiritual and physical weight. It's the legacy of blessings, resources, opportunities, and divine rights that were meant for you, but were intercepted by those who thought they could rewrite your destiny. They moved in silence, thinking they could erase your name from the will written over your life. They thought you would never find out. They thought their greed would go unnoticed. But now, someone from the inside is talking, and the walls they built to hide their actions are beginning to crack. The whistleblower is real, and their truth is about to blow the lid off everything they tried to bury. Before we go deeper into this revelation, I want you to stay with me until the very end of this video, because what I'm going to share has the power to not only confirm what you've been feeling, but also prepare you for what's coming next. I want you to take a moment and put your most heartfelt wishes into the comments along with 777. This isn't just a number, it's a divine seal. As you write them, you're releasing energy into the universe, aligning yourself with the flow of restoration that's already in motion. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button so you can stay connected to the truth, the signs, and the confirmations you need in this season. Now let's break down what's really happening. For a long time, these people operated under the belief that control equals power. They positioned themselves like gatekeepers, deciding what you could and couldn't have, all while smiling to your face and pretending their actions were harmless. But the truth is, they weren't just keeping something small from you. They were intercepting something generational, something that would have changed the course of your life and maybe even your family line. They got comfortable because they thought no one would challenge them. But what they forgot is that every system built on deception eventually collapses under the weight of its own lies. The whistleblower is not just any random person. They're someone who saw too much for too long, and the guilt or the moral urgency has become too heavy for them to carry. This person may have been silent before, but now the fear of staying quiet outweighs the fear of speaking up. And this is where the stress comes in. These people are restless. They can't sleep the way they used to. They're snapping at each other. They're making mistakes in their cover stories because the pressure is mounting. What's ironic is that the very thing they feared most, exposure, is now coming from a place they thought was safe. This whistleblower knows details, names, dates, transactions, the exact ways they maneuvered to keep what was yours from reaching you. It's not speculation, it's documentation. They're not just telling a story, they're providing proof. And once proof exists in the light, it becomes a force that can't be unseen or ignored. The coming days will be revealing. You may notice certain individuals trying to re-enter your life suddenly, pretending to be friendly or offering help out of nowhere. It's not because they've had a genuine change of heart, it's because they know the exposure is near, and they're trying to soften the blow by rebranding themselves as an ally before the truth hits. This is a tactic, and you must be discerning. When your spirit feels that off vibe, trust it. Just because someone shows up with a smile doesn't mean they've come in peace. The timing of their approach is a clue in itself. This is bigger than gossip, bigger than drama, bigger than petty revenge. This is about restoration. This is about the universe, and for some of you, God, making sure that what was stolen is not just returned, but returned in a way that exposes every hand that touched it wrongfully. And as this whistleblower speaks, their words will carry the kind of weight that can't be dismissed. The lies will start to crumble, the false narratives will fall apart, and the truth will stand like a tower in the middle of it all. The people who thought they could play you have no idea how strong you are, and they certainly didn't expect their own allies to turn into the very voice that undoes them. The deeper we go into this, the more you'll start to see the layers of deception that were woven together to keep you away from what's rightfully yours. This isn't just about someone hiding money or property. This is about them creating a web of lies so complex that they believed no one could ever untangle it. They told different versions of the story to different people, carefully controlling the flow of information so no one had the full picture. But here's the thing about lies. When the pressure builds, they don't just crack, they explode. And now that the whistleblower has stepped forward, all of those carefully crafted stories are starting to contradict one another. Behind the scenes, the stress is reaching boiling point. You have people who once stood together in their deceit now turning on each other because self-preservation has kicked in. They're afraid of the legal consequences, the public shame, the collapse of their carefully manufactured image. And this whistleblower? They're not backing down. They've been carrying this truth like a heavy stone in their chest, and now that they've started speaking, it's like a dam has broken. More details are spilling out, specific dates, secret meetings, coded conversations, and hidden transactions that point directly to the theft of your inheritance. And make no mistake, this whistleblower's actions are no accident. Whether they were motivated by guilt, moral conviction, or even a desire to protect themselves before the whole thing comes crashing down, their role in this moment is pivotal. They may have once been complicit, but now they've become a key instrument in exposing the truth. And because they were on the inside, their information carries a credibility that's hard to dispute. The people who wronged you are scrambling, looking for ways to discredit this person, to make them seem unstable or untrustworthy. But their desperation only makes them look guiltier. You may start hearing whispers, not directly to your face, but around the edges, small comments, indirect messages, even sudden coldness from people who used to be warm. That's because they know the tide is turning. They know that once the full truth comes out, there's no going back to the way things were. They're afraid of what you'll do when you have proof in your hands. They're afraid of losing the control they've had over you. But here's the part they don't understand. Your rise doesn't depend on their permission. The inheritance that was stolen from you was never truly theirs to keep. They could manipulate the physical, but they couldn't touch the divine claim on your life. And now that the truth is moving into the light, there's a force behind you that is bigger than anything they can fight against. What's yours is making its way back to you, and it's coming with interest. Restoration that not only replaces what was lost, but multiplies it. So hold steady. Don't let their panic shake your calm. Don't let their drama pull you into chaos. Your job right now is to stay aligned, to stay aware, and to let the truth do what it was always meant to do. Set you free and restore everything they tried to bury. The whistleblower's words are like a ripple that keeps widening with every passing day. At first, the details they reveal are shocking, but as more pieces fall into place, the picture becomes undeniable. bank transfers to offshore accounts, accidental paperwork changes that shifted assets, meetings that were disguised as casual dinners but were really about sealing your exclusion from what was rightfully yours. These are not just suspicions anymore. They're backed by timestamps, receipts, witnesses. It's the kind of evidence that leaves very little room for them to wriggle out. The guilty parties are beginning to realize they can't control the narrative anymore. They've relied on secrecy for so long that they have no plan for what happens when the truth is public. This is where their stress becomes visible. They may try to keep up appearances, but it leaks out in their body language. The nervous glances, the shorter tempers, the quiet disappearances from social events. It's the weight of exposure pressing down, the knowledge that their carefully guarded reputation is one revelation away from shattering. Meanwhile, the people around them, family, business partners, old friends, are starting to reassess everything they thought they knew. Some will distance themselves to protect their own image. Others will pretend they had no idea and suddenly try to get closer to you. This shifting energy can feel overwhelming because you'll see faces that once looked at you with suspicion, now showing guilt or even sudden admiration. Remember, their change of heart is about the truth coming to light, not necessarily about a genuine transformation in character. Keep your discernment sharp. The most dangerous thing you could do now is let your guard down and believe the fight is over. Yes, the exposure is a massive turning point, but people who have operated in deceit for years rarely surrender without trying to create one last diversion. They might start planting rumors about you to distract from their downfall, or even claim the whistleblower has ulterior motives. Expect a desperate attempt to flip the story, because admitting guilt would be admitting defeat, and that's something their pride won't allow easily. The difference this time is that the truth is no longer just in your hands. It's in the hands of multiple people who can verify it. That makes it much harder for them to erase or rewrite. And with every day that passes, their circle of protection gets smaller, their influence weaker. The inheritance that was once locked away from you is now sitting under a spotlight, and the process of reclaiming it has already begun. The whistleblower knows more than they've even shared yet, and that's part of why the guilty are spiraling. They're not just afraid of what's been said, they're terrified of what's still to come. And you? You're in a position now to watch the truth dismantle every wall they built to keep you out. The pressure on the guilty has now reached a point where it's not just emotional, it's physical. They're losing sleep. Their appetite is disrupted, and the stress is carving deep lines in their face. You can see it in their eyes. They're constantly calculating, wondering who else knows, and if the next phone call or email they receive will be the one that unravels everything. They thought they could control the narrative by intimidation or silence, but the whistleblower's steady stream of facts has made that impossible. Every new piece of evidence feels like another stone on their chest, making it harder for them to breathe easy. Behind the scenes, their alliances are breaking apart. People who once stood shoulder to shoulder with them are now quietly stepping away, not out of morality, but out of self-preservation. When the tide turns, no one wants to be standing next to the person at the center of the storm. These cracks in their support system are widening daily, and they feel the isolation creeping in. It's no longer a question of if the truth will win. It's a matter of when it will consume everything they've built on deception. The whistleblower's position is becoming stronger, too. They're not acting out of revenge. They're acting out of a need for justice. That's why their revelations carry weight. The facts are solid, the timeline is precise, and the paper trail is undeniable. It's not wild accusations. It's the kind of truth that holds up under scrutiny. This is why the guilty parties are panicking. Lies can be argued, but evidence? Evidence is a wall they can't scale. As this unfolds, you may notice the guilty attempting one last tactic: sympathy. They may try to flip the emotional script, painting themselves as victims of a misunderstanding or an overzealous accuser. They might talk about stress or personal struggles in an attempt to humanize themselves and earn pity. But this too is part of the manipulation. Another desperate attempt to protect what they know is slipping away. Do not be swayed by the sudden softness in their voice or the rehearsed regret in their words. True remorse is consistent and comes with action, not just emotion. For you, this phase is both powerful and delicate. You're seeing justice move in your favor, but you must also maintain your composure. The temptation to rush in, confront, or demand immediate resolution is strong, but patience will serve you better here. The longer the truth unfolds naturally, the more undeniable it becomes. Let the whistleblower's work continue. Let the guilty keep tripping over their own inconsistencies, and let their fear do the rest. This is the turning of the tide. And while the storm hasn't fully passed, the wind is now blowing in your direction. By now, the whistleblower's revelations are echoing far beyond the initial circle. People you didn't even realize were connected to the situation are starting to reach out, some offering quiet support, others fishing for information to gauge how deep the trouble goes. The truth has a way of drawing out hidden players. Those who once stayed silent are beginning to slip, and in casual conversations, they're letting details spill that only strengthen your case. Every whisper, every side comment, is like another thread being pulled from the fabric of the lies that were woven against you. The guilty parties are in a state of constant defense now, scrambling to plug the holes in a ship that's already sinking. Meetings behind closed doors have become more frequent. They're trying to craft a consistent story, but the cracks in their narratives are multiplying too fast to keep up. You can almost feel their paranoia from a distance. They're aware that any wrong word, any inconsistency, could be the one that breaks everything open in a way they can't spin. And here's the thing. They underestimated how far the whistleblower was willing to go. They thought it would be a few claims, easily dismissed or discredited. But what they're facing is a steady, relentless drip of proof that leaves no room for doubt. The whistleblower is revealing not just facts, but patterns, showing how these people operated over time, how they manipulated paperwork, influenced decisions, and used positions of trust to edge you out of what was yours. It's not a single act of betrayal. It's a sustained campaign, and the more this comes to light, the uglier it looks to the outside world. You may start noticing a shift in how bystanders view you. Where there was once skepticism or avoidance, now there's curiosity, even respect. People are realizing you were never the villain they were led to believe. You were the target. And while some of these new faces of support are genuine, others will come forward out of self-interest, sensing your position is gaining strength. Be careful not to confuse attention with loyalty. In moments like this, opportunists often wear the mask of allies. The guilty ones know this too. They can feel the social current moving away from them, and it terrifies them. Their stress isn't just about the inheritance or the legal consequences. It's about losing influence, losing the carefully cultivated image that's been their shield for so long. Without it, they're just people caught in a web of their own making, and the public eye is far less forgiving when the story isn't in their control. The whistleblower hasn't yet played their full hand, and that's the part that keeps your attackers up at night. They can't predict when the next revelation will come or what it will contain. That uncertainty is eating away at them, leaving them reactive, sloppy, and increasingly vulnerable. And as their moves become more desperate, they only tighten the noose around their own necks. By this stage, the stress gripping your attackers is no longer something they can hide behind fake smiles or forced calm. Their body language betrays them, twitching hands during conversations, a gaze that shifts rapidly when certain topics come up, and a tone that tries to sound confident but cracks under the weight of their own anxiety. You might hear about sudden vacations they've taken, not out of leisure, but to escape the suffocating environment their lies have created. Even away from the public eye, they're carrying the heavy burden of knowing that the whistleblower's revelations are still in motion. The whistleblower has now positioned themselves like a shadow they can't outrun. Every move your attackers make seems to be countered by another truth surfacing, one that dismantles the illusions they've worked so hard to maintain. The beauty of this process is its inevitability. There is no single dramatic blow that will take them down. It's the slow, constant erosion of their defenses that makes the collapse certain. They don't know which document will leak next, which ally will flip, or which conversation will be repeated to the wrong person. That unpredictability is a torment far worse than a sudden confrontation. Their attempts to regain control are clumsy now. They might start shifting blame toward each other, hoping to redirect attention, but in doing so, they fracture their own unity. Small disagreements are turning into open hostility within their circle, and these arguments are not happening behind locked doors anymore. The more they fight among themselves, the more witnesses there are to their unraveling. This infighting is not only damaging their credibility, it's accelerating the collapse of whatever power they thought they still had. For you, this phase is one of quiet observation and deliberate patience. You don't need to insert yourself into the chaos. In fact, staying still while the storm rages around them amplifies your position of strength. Others will notice that you are not scrambling, not lashing out, and not in fear. That calmness speaks louder than anything you could say. It tells the world you're on the side of truth, and truth doesn't panic. Still, it's important to recognize that the fight isn't over yet. Desperation can make the guilty unpredictable, and while they're weakened, they may still attempt a bold move to distract from the heat. They might try to fabricate a new story, create a scandal unrelated to you, or even attempt to sway public opinion through sympathy campaigns. But now that the whistleblower's evidence is out there, their words carry far less weight. The cracks in their armor are too wide, and no amount of quick fixes will seal them again. And so, you watch as the narrative continues to shift, less about the stolen inheritance itself, and more about the exposed character of those who took it. The more people see them for who they truly are, the less room they have to maneuver. It's a silent but unstoppable transformation, one that's leading them toward a reckoning they can no longer postpone. The air around them is now thick with distrust. What started as whispers of discontent within their group has turned into outright verbal battles, and these clashes are spilling into the open. People who once stood shoulder to shoulder with your attackers are now airing private grievances, revealing how long they've been uncomfortable with the lies, but too afraid to speak. The whistleblower's actions have emboldened others to come forward, not always in dramatic public statements, but in smaller, crucial ways that chip away at the control these individuals once had. It's in this phase that you begin to notice something powerful. The story is no longer about what was stolen from you. That truth is already out in the open, undeniable. Now the focus has shifted to the deeper betrayal, the kind that reveals just how far they were willing to go to keep you from your rightful inheritance. People are questioning their morals, their history, and even other unrelated decisions they've made. The web of deception that once seemed so carefully woven is unraveling in every direction. They are stressed, yes, but it's more than that now. This is fear turning into paranoia. Every phone call, every knock on the door, every unexpected email feels to them like another blow waiting to land. The whistleblower may have already given enough proof to change everything, but in their minds, the real danger is the unknown, the possibility that even more damaging evidence is out there, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge. And while they spiral, you hold your position in a place of quiet power. You are not chasing the narrative. You are not trying to control the pace of the revelations. You've learned that in situations like this, the truth doesn't need you to fight for it every second. It has its own momentum now. Your role is to remain unshaken, to let them see that you no longer fear their manipulations, and to live in a way that reflects the dignity they tried to strip from you. Still, you can sense that this is not the end. The final act is coming, the moment when all pretense will shatter. And the way they've been tearing into each other, combined with the pressure from the outside world, means they're standing on a collapsing foundation. When it goes, it won't be a quiet fall. It will be a public, undeniable moment that forces everyone to see exactly who they've been all along. Everything has been leading to this moment. The whispers have turned into shouts, the subtle hints into undeniable evidence. The whistleblower's work has reached a point where even the most loyal supporters of your attackers can no longer defend them without looking complicit themselves. The air around them feels heavy, like a storm about to break. You can almost sense the moment when the last wall of denial will crumble. It's not just about your stolen inheritance anymore. It's about the truth standing in full view, impossible to spin, manipulate, or bury. The people who once backed them are slipping away, not out of loyalty to you, but out of survival instinct. No one wants to be standing next to a sinking ship when it goes under. Meetings are canceled without explanation. Invitations are suddenly lost or forgotten. The faces that once smiled in their presence now turn away, pretending not to see them in public. Isolation has set in, and with it comes a kind of desperation that's impossible to hide. They are still trying to hold themselves together, but the cracks are visible from miles away. This is the phase where you can feel a shift, not in their power, but in yours. The truth has been working silently in the background, dismantling their foundation piece by piece. And while you have felt the weight of this journey, you are now beginning to experience the lightness that comes with knowing justice is not only possible, but inevitable. You've held your composure, you've refused to be dragged into their chaos, and now the balance is tipping in your favor. The whistleblower has done more than just reveal documents or expose conversations. They've brought to light the heart of the matter, the calculated theft, the betrayal, and the arrogance that believed it would never be uncovered. This truth is now traveling further than either of you could have imagined, reaching people who are not only shocked, but determined to hold them accountable. And accountability, once it gains momentum, is a force no one can stop. You're standing on the edge of the final act, knowing that what comes next will not require you to shout, fight, or beg to be heard. It will simply be the natural conclusion of a story that was always bound to surface. And in that, there's a quiet power, because you know that when the last blow lands, it will be by the weight of their own actions, not yours.